Welcome in, everyone. I'm your Vegas Nation host, Cassie Soto, here with news that right tackle Trent Brown is no longer a Las Vegas Raider. He has been traded to his former team in the New England Patriots. Here with all the details is Raiders beat writer for the Las Vegas Review-Journal, Vinny Bonsignore. Vinny, this news came very early Tuesday morning before the sun rose. I don't know what Trent was thinking there, putting out some early news for us, getting us up early. The news broke early Tuesday, but I think it was something that we all expected would happen. What can you tell us about the trade details and how we got here?
Well, it was, as the months went on, I was debating whether the Raiders should bring him back. What would they do with Trent Brown? But at the end of the day, this is a guy who played 16 games over the last 2 years for the Raiders. He missed 12 games last year, the last 4 games of 2019. That's a lot of uncertainty for a player that made $36 million in guaranteed money the last 2 years and was scheduled to make $14 million in 2021. I don't think the Raiders, wanted to go into another season wondering if they were going to be able to get Trent Brown on the field, especially at that price tag. So no surprise that that they parted ways with them. I'm a little bit surprised that they were able to find a trade partner, but from the Patriots perspective, they have a whole bunch of money under the salary cap. They reworked the deal. They get him for 1 year for $11 million. Chances are he'll walk away in 2022. The Patriots will get a 3rd or 4th round comp pick for their troubles, and so they'll keep rolling along. But from the Raiders' perspective, they saved $14 million. They're now projected to have about $36 million under the salary cap, and that could grow by another $10, $11 million, depending on what happens with Marcus Mariota. And then there's some other players to keep an eye on. But for the Raiders, they needed to move on from Trent Brown. They didn't get the return that they were hoping for. And now they have to replace him, and that's not going to be necessarily an easy task either.
So Trent Brown is gone. Gabe Jackson and Richie Incognito are expected to be released. Who was left on this offensive line, Vinny? Some vets here. How much work do the Raiders have now to rebuild this O-line?
Well, as we sit here today, in terms of starting players, the only 2 starting players that they have that are under contract right now are Colton Miller at left tackle and Rodney Hudson at center. Denzel Good, who filled in admirably for Trent Brown last year, and then also Richie Incognito is a free agent. I would suspect that the Raiders are interested in bringing him back. We'll see what happens there. They could leave the door open for a return of Richie Incognito. But the fact is, as we sit today, they have to replace. They don't have a left tackle. I should say they don't have a left tackle under contract or left guard under contract. They don't have a right guard under contract, starting right guard, or their starting right tackle under contract. So no doubt about it, they've got some work to do on the offensive line.
And I think you mentioned it just a bit ago regarding the salary cap now. How much wiggle room do they have in free agency, or do they have to depend on the draft to fill these holes?
No, I mean, at $36 million, and I would expect that's going to get closer to $50 million before it's all said and done once they make a decision on Marcus Mariota and there's a couple other players, Jeff Heath. Do you keep Carl Nassib or do you add about $4 million by cutting or trading him? So there's a way they should have some money to spend on the salary cap. There's no question about it. But at the same time, now they have, holes to fill. We've already, they've already released LaMarcus Joyner. So who replaces him? They brought in AJ Boye from the Denver Broncos and formerly the Jacksonville Jaguars, a cornerback for a free agent visit. We'll see where that goes. He could push Damon Arnett at the starting job opposite Trayvon Mullen, or maybe AJ moves inside to replace LaMarcus. We'll see where all that is headed. But without a Gabe Jackson, without Richie Incognito, without Trent Brown, without LaMarcus Joyner, without Terrell Williams, and probably without Marcus Mariota, there's some holes to fill. They hope they're going to look to the draft with the offensive line. They hope that John Simpson, the 2nd or 4th round pick from Clemson last year, can take a big step forward. That would definitely help solve some problems. But there's also defensive holes to fill. So they'll have money to spend, but they have holes to fill. So through the draft, free agency, and perhaps even the trade route, that's how they're going to have to do it. It's a tough situation because of the salary cap going down for the first time in decades. But the Raiders are no different than, their 31 other colleagues around the NFL. They got to figure out how to make this work in a new salary cap situation.
The Raiders looking a little bit like Swiss cheese right now, Vinny. Some holes to fill. Thank you so much for the updates. As always, we really appreciate it.
All right, you got it, Cassie.
For more Raiders news, head on over to vegasnation.com. We'll see you next time.